Hello, everyone. It's Mike Hill. You're listening to the Everything Went Black podcast. Very special episode this week. First of all, shout out to Retta Evans for turning me on to Bambara. She usually knows the type of music I like, and she's sent me a bunch of cool stuff over the years, and this is one of those bands. That's why it's a real pleasure to have my guest tonight, Reid Bateh, the vocalist and one of the 3 founding members of Bambara, and we had a great time. Thanks a lot for taking time out, man. I appreciate the conversation.
Hey, no problem, man. Thanks for having me on.
Yeah, totally. I actually found out about you guys just a year ago, and a friend of mine who actually is very keen to the kind of music I listen to, she's like, have you heard this band Bambara? And I'm like, I haven't. And ever since then, I've been like taking a deep dive into you guys' back catalog. And I'm a brand new, very avid fan now. So that's really cool. So one of the things I think that's interesting about you guys is the core of the band. You guys have been playing together for, from what I understand, a very extended period of time.
Yeah, we've been playing together since we were probably about 11 or 12, something like that. Probably 12 years old.
And that's the core is like you and your brother Blaze and William Brookshire, right?
Brookshire.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's been the same 3 of us since we were kids.
I think I read somewhere also that you guys started out kind of playing like kind of typical like kind of pop punk music.
Yeah. That was the early days were all like A2 and shit like that, you know. Just like kids fucking around. But yeah, I mean that's how it started. And yeah, I don't know. It was just, I guess a lot of people probably started that way around that time.
Yeah, definitely. But it's so a lot of people also don't really evolve into anything else either, and that's what's kind of curious, for me is like what sort of put you guys on the path that you're on now as far as the type of music you're playing, and because even within the context of the bands, from 2009 to now, I can hear a lot of different things going on in the music, and also changes within the last decade or so that you guys have existed.
Mm-hmm. It's really hard to say what influenced it. I think we're always, there's like certain feelings that we're trying to get at, and maybe we didn't have the sort of musical literacy early on to get at those feelings. But I think the more we played with each other, the more we heard like other bands and different approaches to music, we kind of realized a way to sort of get at these feelings that we were trying to evoke with the music. Especially like a sort of like, there's like a certain, I hesitate to say darkness because that's kind of cheesy, but there's like a certain heaviness that we always try to approach in different ways that are more unique than like a standard sort of just like brutal aggression or just pure sadness, And I think we're always trying to find a way to get to that weird in between area, and that kind of shapes what we do. I think that's just me speaking personally for what I kind of aim for when we're doing things. But I think we all kind of have a similar idea.
Yeah, I think even just me being a fan of music, some of the early stuff I listened to, like hardcore and punk rock music and metal and all that. But it's like when I first heard either like Onsterzende Neubauten and like maybe the Birthday Party and like early Swans, that's
Yeah,
when I realized that there was like a whole other dimension of ways to express like deeper feelings than just like aggression and anger and frustration and things like that.
that's beautifully put. I'd say it's pretty similar for us, I think, with those bands as well. Um, I think Swan specifically was one of the reasons we all wanted to move to New York. That definitely I would say that's definitely one of the biggest influences. This sort of like the way that Gira talks about New York. We saw some documentary when we were kids, and maybe in middle school, maybe like early high school, and he was talking about just like the filth of it, like the filth of New York and just the noise and the all of this type of thing. We were drawn into it, you know, the taxi driver sort of aesthetic, you know.
Yeah, definitely, man. That's I didn't grow up in the city, but I'm from New York originally, and I just remember
Oh,
taking
okay.
trips down, with my dad, going to like Yankee games and stuff like that, and just being like, my dad's like, don't touch anything, like don't look at
Yeah,
anyone,
yeah,
don't put your hands on anything, like,
yeah, exactly. Like how that's so it makes it so alluring, you know.
yeah,
If
yeah.
that's
And I,
yeah.
I also remember just like there was I was probably the New York Post or something like that, and there was back in the, when I was a kid in like the '80s, there was you would see advertisements for shows like matinees and whatever stuff going on at CBGBs, and I
So
never went to
cool.
any of those things when I was a kid because I was just
Hmm.
too far away really. And you'd
Yeah,
also you'd see ads for shows coming to Irving Plaza. Yeah, New York definitely had
that's so
this
cool.
scary. And at the same time, I was watching movies like Taxi Driver and all these, like, French Connection, and this stuff
Oh yeah,
takes
yeah,
place in New York,
totally.
and the music always had like this grittiness to it. So yeah, that's totally. I picked that up from what you guys are doing, especially like maybe earlier on with some of the earlier records.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. We were way more focused on just sort of like a brutality of sound, I guess. Just like layers and layers of noise turned all the way up as loud as you can get it. I think some of our early shows in New York actually were probably pretty terrible to watch, really, because we would just I would always play through two amps and have all these loops going through both the amps and the house and all this shit, everything turned up as loud as it can go, and it was just sort of like an exercise in like how much people were willing to stand there and take, you know.
Oh,
And
that's right in line with the Swans, man. Those early Swan shows were these endurance tests.
yeah, and then they're hitting the same chord the whole show too. So it's like there's like another level of endurance. It's cool as shit.
So
But
did this version of the band start? Because you guys are from Georgia originally, right?
yeah, yeah.
And did this version of the I don't know the chronology exactly, but
Yeah.
from the research that I've done,
Uh-huh.
2009 is when the band started, and Dream Violence came out in 2013. Were you guys living in New
Uh-huh.
York at the time that record came out, or were you down in Georgia still?
Well, we had an EP that we did when we were still in Georgia too, called Dog Ear Days.
Okay.
Um, that's we were young dudes at that time, and we're probably still in college in Georgia, but I mean we were, yeah, and I think that might be the first thing with the Bambara name on it, and then after that we moved to New York after we graduated, and we recorded Dream Violence just in our apartment here in New York, in between like our like service industry jobs and all that. You know, this is the standard thing. But the whole idea of moving to New York was to get here and just start recording music and start playing shows as fast as possible. Um, yeah, so that was the first New York record is Dream Violence for sure.
Yeah, man, New York is a hard place to move to, man. Do you have friends?
It is, man.
Do you have friends in New York before you just showed up
We
one
did.
day?
We had a few friends. Actually, the first person we ever met from New York or in New York was is he plays in the band on tour with us now. He's one of the touring members, Brian Keller. He used to be in this band called Soft Spot, and we played with them years ago when we were still in Georgia. But Yeah, we had a few friends here. A bunch of us moved up together. All three of us moved up at about the same time. And then we had a few friends that moved up at the same time too. And we all just kind of piled into this. There's six of us, and we kind of piled into this three-bedroom apartment and lived there for. I mean, I still live there actually. It's 10 years fucking later, you know. But it has a basement. And we just kind of threw some mattresses on the ground, and there's some rooms upstairs, and we just got to work, you know. It was
Did you
great.
guys end up in like Bushwick or
Bushwick, yeah,
Yeah. Okay, that's what I figured. That's like where
yeah,
everyone moves to like 10 years ago.
exactly, It's the exact, yeah. This is where you're gonna move when you're trying to young dude trying to come to New York, you know.
I
But it
mean,
was great. I loved it. It was just a fucking crazy wake up call, uh, as it would be for I think anybody moving to New York. I don't know if anyone is really ready for it unless you've grown up there.
yeah,
But
the thing about
maybe,
Bushwick too is like, if I mean, I didn't grow up in New York, but I just moved away. I just moved to New Jersey about a year ago, but I lived in New York for like decades, and
uh,
everyone I know is like, oh, Bushwick, man, that's like where people get mugged and killed out there, and
yeah, yeah. When we first moved here, all of our friends would get mugged all the time.
yeah,
Willie got mugged. William, the bass player, got mugged. Some dude hit him over the head with a 40 bottle and stole his shit. And it was just kind of like a normal. It was just kind of what we expected at that time.
yeah, it
But
was
it
still
was kind of
pretty.
exciting too, you know. I don't know. It added to that grind. Everything it felt gritty and dangerous in a way that it doesn't anymore. But
Oh yeah,
I'm glad I got to see it that way.
yeah, now it's way different now. But I remember probably like maybe before maybe 2005 or something like that. I was looking for an apartment, and I had just gone through a breakup with a girl, and
Hmm.
I had to move out, and I was looking for roommates and all this, and I ended up checking out a loft place out on Johnson Street, and I
Uh-huh.
remember getting off the L train, and like I was the only person to get off the train. There was no one in the station. It was like maybe
Oh shit.
8:30 at night, but
Yeah.
it felt like 2 in the morning when I got up to the street level, and there
Uh-huh.
was like no one on the street. It just had that desolate, dangerous, you know, like some like there was someone lurking somewhere. That's what the feeling
Oh
I had.
yeah,
Yeah, so
for
that's
sure.
so
Yeah.
that was the world, I guess, back then.
Yeah. Yeah, it's weird how quickly that changes, or actually just how long ago that is. It doesn't 10 years goes by so fucking fast, especially, New York time it's like a totally different like property than everywhere else in the world. Georgia, I feel like I'd still be probably 20 years old just because time moves so much slower.
Yeah, yeah, definitely, man. Everything is in
Yeah.
hyperspeed in New York for sure.
Yeah.
So how did that affect the band? I mean, you guys were, living in Georgia. You were doing your thing down there.
Yeah.
I'm sure the actual day to day, travails of doing the band must have changed drastically once you moved to New York City.
Yeah, I mean everything just became more of like a test of your willpower. It was just kind of like in Georgia, everything was kind of easy to do, and everything was slow moving, easy to do. There's nothing in the way. It was easy to make ends meet. Jobs were easy to find, and it didn't cost much in like a small college town in Georgia. But we get here, and you gotta hustle immediately, or you get spit out. The city's always trying to kick you out. So we spent all of our time either working or working in the basement on the record. There was nothing else really, just like working or getting fucked up or whatever, and then working on the record, and that was it. It was a nice little dreamy kind of fucked up bubble. It was kind of nice actually, but it really just taught us how to work in a more focused way, I think.
Yeah, having the space in the basement is that was pretty key, actually. I imagine.
Oh, it's beautiful. It was beautiful. I don't know how we would have done it without that. Because we would have had to work so many more hours to pay for the rehearsal space and all that shit. I don't know. The logistics become such a big thing. The practicalities of living here.
Renting a
As
rehearsal
true,
space in Brooklyn is like highway robbery, man. It's like
Totally. You
you're
might as
just
well sleep there.
yeah, you're just getting exploited like the whole time,
Yeah. Yeah.
Or there's the whole hourly thing, which is like a total waste of time, I think.
Totally. Unless you have like a show to practice for and that's it or something, and you don't have anywhere to do it. But yeah, it's just hard to that's a hard thing to maneuver unless you have a basement. Nobody really has a basement, so it was a beautiful thing for us.
Yeah, I think there's that. I think there's a strip club out there called Pumps that actually has
Pumps, yeah, yeah.
rehearsal spaces like part of it or something, right?
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Oh yeah, yeah,
There's
I
a
know.
venue. There's used to be a venue right over there. I forget what it was called. Fuck. I don't know. There used to be a venue over there, but yeah, I
So
didn't know they had rehearsal spaces. That's funny.
yeah, yeah, people will find you know how it is. Like any way they can squeeze like a couple more cents out of people, that's
Oh yeah,
they'll do it.
totally.
It's a rehearsal
Yeah.
space, hourly, whatever, all that.
Yeah, yeah.
So being in Bushwick, there was all those sick like lofts out there. Is that where you guys played some of your early New York shows?
Yeah, we played a lot of shows and all the lofts they'd be open, for like a few months and get shut down, and a lot of small venues too that were open back then that aren't anymore. And it was cool. The community was so small back then. The music scene, it was way different than it is now. Where you would just play with the same bands over and over again, and just it was really tight knit, pretty cool. There weren't really enough bands. At least it seemed like this to me. I don't, I was young, didn't really know what the fuck was going on. But to me, it seemed like there weren't really enough bands to break off into different scenes yet. It was everyone just kind of played with each other, no matter what kind of music you played. And I thought that was kind of cool. Yeah.
Yeah, some of those places like that, the Johnson Street place, that place still has shows, I think.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Yeah, 'cause, I
Still
think I
got
saw this
shows.
band Bloody Minded play there like a year ago, and
Oh, cool.
I was like, wow, this is still here because I hadn't been there in like maybe 7 or 8 years, and
Yeah, that one's got such like a diehard. Uh, I don't know, just like I guess the people still live there and stuff, and it's always rotating, but it's got such like a following. It's a cool spot.
yeah, totally. So one of the questions I have is the core of the band is a rhythm section, and you used to play guitar, right?
Yeah, and I still do. I still write guitar and still play it on the records. It's
Okay.
still just the three of us on the records.
Ah,
But
okay. All right, I see.
I broke my hand at a show one time. I forgot what the fuck it was. But yeah, I mean, I forgot it because I was blacked out, drunk, obviously, and I was just beating the shit out of my guitar, and my fist shattered. I didn't realize it, so I just kept going. And the next day, I woke up, my hand was demolished. So we had to get another dude to play. We had to get Brian, the guy I was talking about earlier, to come play one of the shows for us, and then we just kind of liked the dynamic. I liked a lot being free because I was always tethered to the guitar, and also the way I used to play guitar back then was very technical and very. It was like it's being like chained to like three pedal boards and all these amps and shit, and it was so freeing to be just a singer, and so we just kind of just started. I think I never really, I don't think I ever played guitar again after that with a band live.
I think that it must be hard to find someone because when I listen to the music, there's a very specific thing going on with the guitar. You can't
Mhm.
just like grab some guy and be like, all right, I need a guitar player, and
Yeah,
it's like,
yeah,
you know what I'm
yeah.
trying to say? There's like this
Oh yeah,
very
for sure.
specific thing going on. So, I'm sorry, was his name
Yeah,
Brian? Was the guy's name?
Brian. Yeah, we have two guys that play guitar actually, Brian and Sammy. Now it's a five piece live thing, but yeah, at first it was really hard. It was hard to get that right with just Brian, especially because of the way that I was doing all this technical stuff with splitting amps and having different loops through different amps at different times and all these sorts of things that I was doing all by myself. We realized we didn't need to, when we started playing with Brian, we were just like, well, fuck it, why don't we just get another guy too? And then no one has to be doing all these things at once, So it just split up really nicely amongst two people, and that really helped. And they're also very good players and can take direction very well too.
Yeah, that's some of the more interesting stuff with the band is I also play guitar, so I always listen to try to figure out what kind of effects are going on, maybe what kind of amps
Uh-huh.
you're using, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
So I mean,
Yeah.
what I think, man, is like, are you a Roland Howard fan?
Oh yeah, for sure.
Yeah. I'm like, man, I listened to that because that's
Yeah.
like they're like one of my favorite bands, The Birthday Party and like
Me too, man. Me
Crime and the
too.
City Solution
Oh
and
yeah.
the solo
Oh yeah.
records, all that stuff, man. And it's just
Oh yeah.
like,
It's so good.
yeah, anything that it has that kind of like twangy, reverbed out like vibe is like totally into that.
Yeah, man. I love that. I just love that type of guitar playing so much. There's something about it. It's just mysterious and violent and I don't know. It's just that's just how I like to play it, I guess. Like how I like to hear it, how I like to play it.
Yeah. Now, about a year ago, you guys were on tour, and I was gearing up to check you guys out at on the date in New York, but it got canceled due to the pandemic.
Yeah.
So I was like,
God damn.
right around the time I found out about the band, I was like, oh shit, these guys are playing here, in New York, and then
Yeah.
everything blacked out. So,
Yeah.
are there
That
any
was a fucking bummer.
plans? Are there any plans this year that you guys are making to do any kind of live performances or anything?
This year, no. We might try something, but we're not at the moment. It's all next year. We have like a huge tour happening next year, like a big European tour, but that's all that's on the books right now. And it's fucking brutal just sitting around, man.
Yeah, totally.
Yeah, I mean, I'm sure you're experiencing that too.
Yeah,
Playing a
actually,
band.
there was like this gigantic tour that was going to happen, right? Like it was in April of last year, and one of my favorite bands is this band called Napalm Death, and I'm like,
Yeah.
my whole life I was like, man, I would love to go on tour with these guys. And we got asked to do a tour with them last year, and sure enough,
Oh, wow.
the whole thing got canceled, and
Oh, it's tragic.
yeah, dude, it was like
God damn.
one of those like bucket list things for me,
Oh, fuck. God, that's brutal.
Yeah. So,
Jesus Christ.
and that was pretty hard to swallow. We just had a new record come out and like all that, but
Oh, just geared up, ready to go. God damn.
yeah, and it's like good response and good press and all that, and, so it's kind of
And that all takes time to get in the works too, and then it's finally all ready to pop off. It's kind of similar with us. We had Stray come out, and then we had so much shit set up. We were going to be touring, the whole year pretty much.
Yeah.
And we did a handful of shows, and that was it. But that's just how it goes, I guess. Everyone got fucked.
Man, Stray is like such a great follow-up to Shadow Over Everything, man. It's like
Oh, thanks, man.
yeah, the song that really sticks out is Stay Cruel. And
Oh, awesome.
yeah, and what really, I mean, all the guitar playing, all that stuff's great, but the falsetto backup vocals on that song
Oh, cool.
is like,
Yeah, those are actually female singers on that one.
really?
Live, we do it falsetto.
Oh,
We have
man, okay.
yeah.
Because I saw
Live, Sammy and Brian sing falsetto, but on the record, there's a Annie from Palberta and Drew from Public Practice sing a bunch of times throughout the record. I forgot, but it's like a handful of times on the record. They're singing kind of like a reoccurring choir, kind of
wow,
like a
okay.
Greek chorus sort of thing.
Well,
Yeah.
it's funny when I listened to the record, I was like, oh yeah, it's great female backup vocals. But then I saw a live performance, and that's when I was like, oh wow, it's those two dudes singing in falsetto. That's like pretty far out,
Yeah, well, that's how we do it live because we can't really budget to have two more people on the road.
No, that makes total. Yeah,
Yeah.
I mean, there's no way. Just to have like
Y-
extra people out there for that.
No,
You
you
know?
can't just like have everyone hop in the van and go, you know. But yeah, so that's part of the thing with that record and a little bit of the one before it. We really didn't want to limit ourselves with things that like whether or not we could play it live. We just figure that out later, you know. And so the way we do that, you know, we end up having them sing falsetto or the guitar parts change or someone ends up playing a sax part on the guitar or on a keyboard or organ or something. It's kind of fun actually to have to. It's a challenge to transpose these things into a live setting, and it ends up a lot of times they just end up having more. It's just more energy, like a more sort of like punk attitude in a live setting than they do on the record.
You know, that's kind of a big step that a lot of bands that's kind of like a moment, you know what I mean? Like in a band's
Hmm.
sort of creative output where you know, I've gone through a similar thing with some of the things that I do where we stopped thinking about how we're going to recreate it live and
Uh
just
huh.
add layers like synth layers and other vocals and things like that.
Oh yeah.
And that's like a moment though where you kind of have
Hmm.
to decide the record is kind of a standalone piece, and then the
Hmm.
live expression of that is like a different thing, you know?
Oh yeah, definitely. I think that's such a huge part of what we all do. I think because it's very boring to me when you hear a record. You really love the record, and then you go see the band live, and it sounds exactly like the record in every way, to where it could just be a recording of the record. It's like, well, I could have just listened to this shit, you know?
Well, it's funny that you mention that because I saw this band play a number of years ago. I'm not going to name the name of them because they
Uh huh.
are quite popular, and they
Okay.
were opening for Iron Maiden, and it was
Okay.
like Um, the guy wears a mask, right? And I'm like
Uh huh.
watching him perform, and I'm like, man, how is that guy singing with that mask on?
Oh yeah.
And not only is he singing with the mask on, but also all of the layered vocals and effects and everything was
Uh
identical
huh.
to what the record sounded like.
Ah.
And as I was watching this show, I was convinced that the only things that might have been live were the drums and the bass.
Oh, not even the guitars or anything?
No, because the dude was like running all over the stage and ripping these like crazy solos, and there was like it just I don't know. Like I was watching this and I was convinced. I mean, maybe I'm wrong, but like
Yeah.
that
No, I
was
mean, I think that's pretty common. Just get that they with the big acts, you know, they send everything through they have it all set up in an Ableton thing, you know, and the whole show, even the lights and everything is set up uh in that like grid. It's crazy. You have all the tracks in there and stuff. That seems so joyless to me. I don't know.
well, you got to stay on that click track through the whole
You
set,
gotta
you
stay on
know.
that click track. Yeah, and like spacing between songs and stuff is insane. I don't know. I, I feel like there has to be spontaneity, or there's no point in seeing something live.
Yeah, that's. I mean, I enjoy like extreme music and metal, but
Hmm.
I also like like there to be some organic element to it, you know.
For sure, yeah. And I like hearing people fuck up too.
Yeah.
You know, it's a beautiful. Sometimes it sounds even better. You know, so.
Actually, Iron Maiden, who went on and played after them, and
Uh-huh.
I guess their performance is what kind of galvanized my idea about this other band. Was like Bruce
Yeah.
Dickinson's like running from point A to point B, and you can hear
Uh-huh.
the proximity of the microphone to his mouth. You know what I mean?
Ah, there you
As he's
go.
singing,
Yeah.
and there, the solos were different. Like the extended
Uh-huh.
parts, there was like this song's a little bit faster than the record, and it was like
Yeah.
a rock and roll experience as opposed to this sterile presentation. You know?
Yeah. Yeah. And I wonder. I guess there are certain types of music that would maybe benefit from it, like more of like a performance art sort of situation
Yeah.
might benefit from something like that. But if it's like if it's like a visceral experience that you're going to a show for, I don't think it can really be gridded out like that and just pumps through the house.
Now, in the early years of the band, you guys definitely focused on noise and that kind of stuff. Now, were you guys ever
Yeah.
into like noise music at all? Like like Throbbing Gristle or anything like that?
Yeah, yeah, for sure. We got into a lot of noise for a while. Um, there was also, I feel like I was also with Time and Bushwick when there was noise artists everywhere,
Yeah.
and that also kind of lured me away from it at the same time. Because there's something, I don't know, there's this the idea of just like a dude screaming into pedals over a drum machine. Seeing that every show you go to, the first band is that guy, but a different guy, but doing the same thing. And it became like kind of annoying after a while. So I think in one way that really kind of made us shape our noise into different sorts of, take it kind of different ways instead of just the harsh noise scene, which I like. I do like the harsh noise a lot, but like Fury and all that type of stuff. But we I think, I don't know, we use layers for a different purpose than just for like a sort of like harsh intensity, I guess.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, it's just another layer that's part of like
Yeah,
this organic, kind of experience.
yeah, yeah.
Yeah, a lot of that noise stuff is I remember like in the 90s buying like tons of noise records and
Uh-huh.
and it's
It's
funny.
exciting,
Yeah,
but
totally, and it's like
yeah,
I started, if I felt like I was more interesting because I had these records and,
yeah,
I had like these things to talk about with people and you know,
yeah, yeah.
there was like a record store. Well, this is up in New England, Triple R
Uh-huh.
Records, and they're like a cassette type label, and it was
Uh-huh.
all about the cool like extreme packaging and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
But ultimately, I have a bunch of these records that I probably listened to once maybe.
Yeah, yeah, that's the thing. And I'm not, I don't want to sound like I'm talking shit about it. I've seen plenty of these shows that were like very moving and I was like, damn, that was sick. But yeah, for the most part I feel like I think it's an easy type of genre to be like a dilettante in, you know. So all you gotta do is have equipment.
Yeah.
But when it's good, it's great.
Well,
But it's
that's
just
the thing. When you see something
yeah,
that's like on that other tier, it really that's when it all kind of comes together. You know what I mean?
totally. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So the other thing about the band that I really enjoy is like when I listen to like either of the newer records because those are the two I listen to the
Uh-huh.
most.
Yeah.
It seems almost like a collection of short stories or something along those lines. Really,
Yeah. Yeah.
you know,
I would say Shadow and Everything to me, I guess, is the way I conceive it, I guess, is more of like kind of like a novel with chapters. And
right?
then Stray to me is almost like short stories that are connected. It's like I know it's like a weird distinction, but the difference is that on Stray, each song has its own narrative arc, kind of. And with Shadow, they all kind of lean on each other and build a story together, uh, to like a more into like an overarching narrative. Uh, that's how I would describe them, I guess.
Yeah, there's a very kind of literary like thing going on with the lyrics. I think.
For
And
sure, yeah.
yeah, so I mean, I guess you're a writer too, right? Like you.
Yeah, I do. I write. Uh, I write a lot. Yeah. Um, actually, yeah, I've been working on a novel for years, and I think honestly that has helped. That's helped me write songs a lot. It's kind of recontextualized the way that I write lyrics, and that started when I first moved to New York. I started working on this book, and the lyrics from the album Swarm are very influenced by that sort of work. And then I just kept on working on this book. It's finished now, but I kept on working on this book, and my mind has been just stuck in this sort of literary mode for so long that everything kind of comes out is in a similar sort of fashion, I think. And I don't know. It's natural for me to do it that way. It's not like it's not hard or anything. It's just a natural way to write lyrics for me for some reason. I don't know why.
Yeah, I mean that's that's the process. You know what I mean? It's
Yeah.
I think that people who keep notebooks or have like a kind of a continuum of ideas that they pull from. I think the material is a lot stronger that way.
Yeah, for sure. If you keep your brain in motion and the same themes and all that, it's easier to. It's definitely more fruitful. I've found at least.
Yeah, because like I
Yeah.
remember I used to do like studio work, and we were in the studio at this band, and once again, I'm not going to use the name
Yeah,
because
yeah,
it's a
for
band that
sure.
some people who listen to the show probably know about.
Uh,
And I'll probably get my ass kicked too because they're like these kind of tough guys. So yeah, that's
okay.
why I got to watch my step here, you know.
Yeah, yeah.
But anyway, it's like it was time to make a record, okay?
Hmm.
They, so they came in with no songs or lyrics or anything, and
Wow.
spent like the whole month like developing this stuff. You know, like the one guy, there was
Interesting.
one guy who kind of wrote everything, like song wise, like riffs and all that.
Yeah.
So he had demos, but he
Uh-huh.
kind of had to teach the drummer and the bass player and all these other people involved like how the songs like they edited everything together, you know.
Hmm.
And then the singer showed up and no lyrics and just wrote them like on the spot, you know. And I was like, damn.
See, I mean that gives me a panic attack even just thinking about that.
Well, yeah,
Like,
the amount of pressure, man. I don't know if I can handle
yeah.
that kind of pressure, you know.
No, I can't. There's no way. And I guess some people, I know a lot of people that do that, and it's mind-boggling to me.
Yeah, I just I like to be prepared when I do anything. You know,
Me too.
that
Yeah,
applies to every single thing that I do. I like to
for
have
sure. Yeah,
preparation just so I can relax into it. You know.
exactly. Yeah, I don't know how they can relax when they got a fucking gun to their head like that.
Yeah,
Doesn't make any sense. I have like a very I don't know if it's extreme, but it's definitely a defined process for lyric writing. I couldn't just, there's no way I could just do it on the spot in a studio.
now
No
the
way.
novel that you wrote, did you like
Yeah.
outline that out, or like, how did you? What was your process with writing the novel?
Well, I started it when I moved to New York, and I was just so overwhelmed with the city, and I just had these sort of, I wanted to capture as many images as I could of the city, before I understood the city at all, because I wanted it to feel, the images to look the way that the city felt, like an impressionistic version of this crazy place. So I just kind of gathered images for months, maybe even a year, and then uh, I just kind of wrote scenes based off the images that I liked the most, or the ones that I thought would go together the best. But I mean, I had a character. So to do this, I needed a character that was going to experience these things. So that came up with a character, and then I came up with his story, what was going to happen, almost as just like a sort of scaffolding to hang these images on.
Right.
Um, but then over time, it became more and more refined and more novel-like, I guess, instead of like a collection of poems or something. And it's finally done now. I don't know what I'm going to do with it. I don't know anything about the literary world, but it's been an amazing process, and I've learned a lot about how to write in general by doing it. And I'm probably just going to start another one just to keep it going,
That's awesome,
because it's a
man. Yeah.
it's a it's a process I really enjoy, and I'm constantly learning. And I spent years editing it too, so that's a whole other part of the process where you learn so much. But
Yeah, that's
yeah,
I could definitely relate to that because like typically what I have like all these notebooks and shit that I write in for, not even specifically for songs or anything.
yeah, yeah.
Just ideas and sketches and
Hmm.
symbols and all this other stuff. And then
Yeah,
what happens is like similar to what you were saying, like you can kind of pull pieces together from this raw material that you have,
yeah.
and then like
It's so organic that way too.
yeah. So I would much rather do that than like show up in the studio, just,
God
all right,
damn.
man, here's like 8 songs. Let's write some lyrics.
Jesus. Yeah, I don't. There's no way. No way. But I've seen people that do that and they write good lyrics, and I don't understand. They're different type of lyrics, obviously, but still good.
Yeah. I mean, apparently David Bowie would do that.
Yeah, that's what I've heard. And his
And
lyrics can be so cool sometimes,
yeah, I
But
mean, exactly. I mean, I was blown away when I
yeah,
heard that. I figured like he had like, different alternate lyrical takes of different songs and all that stuff.
uh-huh. And he would do that thing, I think, when he was working with Eno and Berlin or whatever, I think he did, I've heard somewhere that he did that technique where you just cut a bunch of words out of a magazine and throw them on the ground and mix them up and see what happens.
Oh, what's that guy? Brian Geisen? Is that the dude who, like, oh man, he was one of these guys that used to hang out with Burroughs or something, and now they kind of had that whole,
Oh, okay.
like that cut up like style.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, I remember reading about that. Like there was like this
Yeah.
whole scene of dudes who did that stuff.
It's pretty cool. It's just a whole different approach than I would ever do, but it's cool.
Yeah. So like some of the ideas, like some of the stuff that comes to mind when I read the lyrics, though, is like a lot of like kind of like this is like not a I'm not being original, I guess, when I say American Gothic or Southern Gothic or Western Gothic
Yeah.
or whatever, but that's kind of the vibe of like a lot of the lyrical stuff, or
For
like
sure.
kind of like these dark, like outsider,
Yeah.
like are there any writers that inform any of that with you? Because like I read some of the lyrics and I'm like, oh, I think of like Flannery O'Connor or like
Well, yeah, she's
Carson.
my number one, like Carson McCullers. Yeah, and both Georgia people too,
Really?
Yeah, so I think there's something to it. And we also, I mean, I had growing up, we had a Southern Gothic like section of high school in our like English class when I was young. And I don't know if everyone has that. It's probably just because it's Georgia or something.
Hell
but
no.
it was that was when I really that was the first time I remember reading Flannery O'Connor's Good Man's Hard to Find, and I was just like, fuck, I want to be a writer, So that's always stuck with me throughout everything I've done, I think. And I do think maybe just growing up in those environments also kind of makes it a little unavoidable, But yeah, she's a big influence. I actually have a reference to her on the record Stray. It's a subtle one, but it's in that story, the misfit, the dude that's. Have you ever read that story?
Which one?
A Good Man is Hard to Find.
Yeah. I have I have the collection. I have like her complete short story collection.
Oh, beautiful.
Yeah.
She's so amazing. But there's at the end of the thing, Misfit says, was it no pleasure but kindness, or but meanness? I mean, the exact opposite of what I just said.
Yeah.
No pleasure but meanness.
Yeah.
And for some reason, that word meanness has always stuck with me, and I think it's because of the way that in the South people use meanness in a much broader sort of sense, I think, than anywhere else. It can mean like little things, or it can mean huge acts of violence or something like that. It's a strange word, and it sounds clunky. It's a clunky sounding word, and it's always stuck with me. So that's why I got the word. I mean, that's why I wanted to have Miracle have that word tattooed on her lip.
Yeah. That's awesome, man. That's I didn't pick up on that, even though,
I mean, it's pretty subtle, but it's just it's that one word,
Yeah.
And it's funny though, because I think other people have been impacted by that word too. Because I was listening to Nebraska the other day.
The Springsteen record, Nebraska.
Yeah.
It's a great album. I love that record.
Oh, it's an unbelievable record, and that whole record has like a Southern Gothic sort of thing to it too, And I remember he has a song, someone where this dude, there's a girl throwing a baton on her lawn, and he picks her up, and they just go around killing people.
Yeah.
And I want to talk. I think it's the first one on the record.
Yeah, it's Johnny. Is it Johnny 99 or something like that?
Not Johnny 99. It's a different one, I think. But
It's about Charles Starkweather, the murderer.
Oh, is that who? I didn't know it was about a real person.
Yeah, definitely.
That's mind blowing.
Oh, fuck, dude.
He just blew that record wide open for me.
Yeah, it's
I mean, I love the record. It's one of my favorites, but
it's a great album, and Johnny 99.
I think it's called Nebraska. That song.
Possibly, yeah. And Charles Starkweather is the subject of that song, and
Wow, I had no idea.
Yeah.
I thought his details were just really amazing. But in that he says something like the judge, gives him death, electric chair or whatever, and they ask him why he did it or something, and he says there's just a meanness in this world. And I remember listening to it and being like, I bet this motherfucker is a Flannery O'Connor fan. And I looked it up, and the whole time he was writing Nebraska, he had a short story collection of Flannery O'Connor in his room with him that he was reading the whole time. So I think there's just something about that word that has a lot of power to me. That was, I actually thought it'd be a good title for the record, but we kind of decided against it. I don't remember why, but
yeah. I always trip out on the different colloquial like variations of words like in the English language, depending on like what parts of the country you're in,
Yeah, it can be vastly different, it's amazing.
Yeah, and like one of the another writer who uses that really well, I think, is Cormac McCarthy.
Oh yeah, I love Cormac McCarthy.
Yeah, like
Blood Meridian's one of my favorites.
Oh yeah, man, that whole trilogy is pretty awesome.
Oh yeah.
His stuff is a little bit more like brutal. You know what I mean? In a lot of ways, it's very
it's
violent.
extreme.
Yeah, extreme. That's a great word for his material. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
but yeah, that's like another big one for me too, man. And you know what? It's funny, like even like Hemingway's Nick Adams stories.
Yeah.
Like a lot of that, like I don't know. These are all the things that come to mind when I listen to the last two records you guys did.
That's awesome. I'm glad that's the sort of thing that gets stirred up. Yeah. Listen to it.
But yeah, man, it's what else? You guys working on new material or anything like that?
We are. We're working on an EP right now. Don't know when that's going to come out. Everything, we keep on getting deadlines, or we keep on getting ideas, and then shit gets canceled or whatever. It's like hard to time anything right now.
Yeah.
But we're working on it. It's coming along. Hopefully it'll be done sometime soon. We can get it out at a time that makes sense. But that's what we're doing right now. Wish we could be playing shows, but
yeah, that's like such a it's funny. Like I bought tickets to go see Ministry in October down in Philly. And I'm like, I there's like this weird visualization, you know what I mean? It's like part of me was like, all right, I'm gonna buy these tickets, man. This show's gonna happen now, and it's like this kind of like willful visualization that I'm gonna try to manifest like live music in the fall,
Yeah.
So we'll see what happens.
Yeah, I don't know what's gonna happen. I mean, maybe they might do like small shit, around town. I don't know about Ministry. We'll see. That's just some wishful thinking, but you never know.
Yeah, I mean,
vaccines are rolling out, so who knows?
Well, yeah. I mean, that's the thing, It's like, everyone's got to, do the right thing here,
Yeah, totally.
But Reid, thanks a lot, man. You were very generous with your time. I appreciate it, man.
Hey, man, thanks for having me. Seriously.
Yeah, totally. Awesome. Thanks.
Nights have become lonely jump cuts to morning, and then I saw a miracle dance. Pulled from my dream by a siren, the kind of fantasy I spent my life in. As she made me skin my knees out of shrining, she kicked me in the teeth for my crying, hooked me on I nearly approached her then, till I saw her face almost grateful in the mirrored wall, and I wished it would fall and shatter. Stay